Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. All in crypto here, and today we are going to be talking about Hedera Hashgraph HBAR from a purely technical point of view, i.e. from a price point of view. We're going to be diving over to the charts, and we're going to be looking at the price prediction that we gave, and is it still intact? And I'm not going to leave anybody in suspense. It absolutely still is. We were expecting a pullback after taking that key level of significance with volume. It was just a little bit more of a frightful one than what we would have expected, but generally the structure is still in play. And actually, we have made sure to come out, certainly since the weekend's events last weekend, and kind of normalize and conceptualize the whole thing and show you actually this is what altcoins do in bull markets. They regularly sell off 35% plus. We looked at Ethereum on its journey from $88 all the way to $4,500. We looked at Cardano, and when you actually compared where Hedera is today to what Cardano did leading to the kind of bull market that it had, that move from the cents, like where Hedera is, all the way to the $3 range. And I think Hedera is going to go on a similar journey throughout the remainder of this year and certainly into next. And we're going to be sort of reiterating and talking about a lot of that. We like to technically back up the things that we say and come out and say when we're wrong or when we haven't got quite things accurate, or we get invalidated on those technical projections that we have. And we haven't had that yet for Hedera. So good news, we are going to be looking at all that today. This isn't going to be fundamental. If you want more fundamental news, do become a subscriber and do make sure that notification bell is on, because we are going to be releasing videos where I'm going to be really reiterating and explaining, again, why it is I'm so bullish on Hedera in regards to its positioning in the crypto space and the crypto space more broadly. You know, some of what Hedera is doing, when you talk about real world adoption, Hedera is kind of at the forefront of that. Certainly in regards to tokenization, it works with the largest asset manager in the UK, Aberdeen, and they're tokenizing their, I think it's Lux Sterling money market fund. They've got billions on that already. You've got RChex, you've got, you know, lots of really amazing things going on. They're partnered with one of the biggest energy suppliers in Europe, or it was the biggest at one point, so on and so forth. But we'll cover all that in the week ahead. But let's dive over to the charts. And let's start things off with a nice clean chart of Hedera. So you guys will remember the kind of price prediction that we gave that essentially saw us running to 27 cents based on a double bottom target, and then potentially going to $2.05, depending on what happens when you get to that target. We want to see a kind of right shoulder form, and then that could give us that projection for $2.05. So we are still looking for that to play out. There's a lot of things that we've kind of got in this chart that aren't quite obvious, but we like to teach something called stage analysis. It's something I teach in my Patreon. It splits the market up into 4 stages. Stage analysis is quite self-explanatory. Phase 1 is a bottoming phase. Phase 2 is an uptrend. Phase 3 is a kind of top, and phase 4 is a downtrend. I do believe Hedera is now in an uptrend. It hasn't yet given me any reason to suspect it to not be. Yes, the pullback that we saw last weekend was an exceptionally brutal one, but we did come out and kind of normalize this in regards to showing you, again, Ethereum, which had a larger market cap than Hedera currently does today, went all the way from $88 all the way to, I think it was 4.5, just shy of 5,000. It had many, many severe pullbacks, and we've only got the sort of 35% plus ones on. It had lots of 20, so on and so forth in its kind of run, including a sort of 60% one here. So pullbacks of this magnitude are normal for the cryptocurrency space, certainly the altcoin market. We also showed ADA, which was a coin I did very well off in 2021, certainly 2020 going into 2021. You can see the kind of pullbacks that you experience here. And I do believe that Hedera is kind of here. This is its pullback. It's been on totally different premise. And you know, some will say it was the whole Iran-Israel thing. I think there's a lot more going on here. I think it was really a combination of things. I think that was definitely a factor. But I think, you know, we've looked at this risk is generally getting leaned on by the bigger markets, the dollar, you know, inflationary fears, implied rates, risk generally getting leaned on. If you overlay Bitcoin with a 3x NASDAQ ETF, they move very similarly, which kind of dictates that Bitcoin is really just a high beta play of risk generally, and risk doesn't do too well when the dollar's going up on fears of inflation. So what, which we think is going to come to pass. So there's an element of things, there's a number of things going in, but we really tried to normalize this pullback, and we still are doing that. And yes, you can say you did wick below this low, depending on what exchange you're looking at. So not every exchange was that actually the case. If you look at Binance, it actually bounced. It didn't quite take this low from a wick point of view. Number of other exchanges, of course, KuCoin, Coinbase didn't even get near it. So actually this uptrend, in my opinion, is still in play, albeit a very scary pullback that we witnessed, which is why we made sure to come out and kind of provide that steady hand in what is certainly a rough sea and normalize things. But with stage analysis, we like to implement the 30 weekly moving average. It's a simple moving average. You don't use an exponential moving average or anything like that. And we don't trade moving averages, but what we do is we use them just like the RSI to assess a general trend or a market and where it's at. Typically in a downtrend, you're below that 30 weekly moving average. When you're going sideways or when a market's bottoming or topping, it's typically chopping in and around it, and the 30 weekly moving average is going sideways. And when you're in an uptrend, it's uptrending, the 30 weekly moving average. And you can see actually where Hedera is supporting very similarly to what Cardano did here before it really saw the bulk of that bull market. You know, you can see it had kind of broken out, popped its head above the pulpit, and then kind of came back in. And you'd have had volume actually on this break. So you can see where you actually broke, just like Hedera. You've got volume here, and then you kind of come back in and sort of retest that 30 weekly moving average. So you can see a similar thing taking place. And if we put these side by side, which we did for you the other day, you can see the similarities in these charts. I mean, it's very obvious. Even if we look at Ethereum, you know, you can see where you kind of are. Ethereum had a lot more strength, bigger market than the likes of Cardano back then, just like Hedera kind of today. But you can see this kind of retest period, or this kind of coming back period, before you ultimately start what we believe is going to be the bulk of the bull market. I also think this is largely in line with what we're looking at generally for the cryptocurrency space. The total 2 is one of our favorite charts, or certainly one of my favorite charts, as somebody that is more heavily in altcoins than I am Bitcoin. We didn't play the Bitcoin dominance trade spectacularly, even though I was kind of calling for a market bottom for crypto generally, or certainly Bitcoin around about 15, 16K. I am majority in altcoins just because I think they will overperform and give me a larger ROI than Bitcoin itself will. We'll see if that turns out to be the case. But we are looking for some sort of a right shoulder forming here. And we do think the cryptocurrency space, excluding Bitcoin, so really the altcoin market, is going to get to $3.7 trillion. There's a bit of a regulatory hurdle that I think there's going to be a narrative of that's going to see this market do well. There's a number of sort of fundamental factors that we're looking at. But generally, we just want to update people on Hedera and where it's at. I don't think you're going to hang around here for too long. And the reason we wanted to let the dust settle was to see where these candles closed. So you haven't had any closes below the 30-week moving average or below key technical support, okay? In my opinion, this market is going to move, or certainly Hedera, to that 27 cents range. And then what it does then may set it up for that sort of $2.05 price prediction, which a lot of people are saying is impossible. And I would argue, actually, they don't know what they're talking about, because if you look at something like Cardano, which we're kind of comparing Cardano back here to where Hedera was today, or is today, this got to... and let's actually show you this. So if we pull up the historical snapshots, I think at one point 90 to $100 billion, and it didn't even have smart contracts enabled, let alone all the partnerships that Hedera has, so on and so forth. So if we go to 2021, and I think the best place to go is kind of maybe November-ish period. So we're probably, let's take a look at the next week. Are we going up or down here? Yeah, so if we go back, you can see actually Cardano had, at one point, I think it was something like an $80 billion market cap. It was pretty phenomenal. And that's essentially, you know, if we look at where I had to see Cardano, $82 billion, $2.05, it actually went higher than this. So you can see $93 billion. So if Hedera's full supply was on the market, it would be 50 billion. And that at $2 would obviously be $100 billion. So I think this market's going to be, and certainly given what we're looking at with a total 2, significantly larger than it was previously. It's got to 1.6. We're looking at a double and then some of that. And I think Hedera stands a damn good chance of getting to that $100 billion market cap that we'd be given technically if we got to the price prediction. It aligns with where we think the total market for crypto is going generally. And right now there's only 35 billion, 36 billion, we'll call it, tokens on the market, which means a $2 price prediction would only put this at what, 70 billion, which I think is more than achievable. And I see a lot of people talking about the unlocks for Hedera and them being really negative. There's a positive element to that, and there's good and bad news with it. One is they will run out of unlocks, and we know that they've been using Hedera essentially to promote partnerships or whatever it may be. And yes, they are unlocking it for things like funding and whatever else it may be. It's not great. It is sell pressure. It's not all sell pressure, because one thing that people don't really even bother to look at is how do those unlocked tokens get distributed, or how, what happens with them. A lot of them don't even end up getting sold. And people say, oh, the supply is too big. Well, actually, again, they don't know what they're talking about, because we've seen many tokens with the same sort of supply that Hedera currently has, do spectacular things, go on and even in some cases 100x from where Hedera is with its sort of 3. If you look at Ethereum previously and things like that. So I don't think that there's a lot of weight to what people say about the supply and the unlocks. I think people just look for a reason to panic. And what they've done is totally ignore the fact that the entire market sold off. Yes, maybe Hedera's was a little bit amplified due to the unlock occurring at the same time with the fear and things like that. But generally, it doesn't make that much difference. People talk about tokens all the time and the supply. Look at Dogecoin. Dogecoin inflates by trillions of tokens a year. And it actually turned out to be one of the best performing assets in 2021. Hate it or love it. I famously made a video coming out and saying don't buy Dogecoin, and then it did what it did. Lesson learned back in 2020. But that's really all I've got for you guys. I just wanted to kind of update people on the price of Hedera, where I currently see it at. Remember, this is not financial advice. Nothing we say or do on this channel is financial advice. I'm still very bullish on this project though. And I actually think it's looking positive. If the crypto space turns around here, like we think it stands a good chance of doing, certainly with some of what we've got coming next week with PCEs and things, Hedera is going to do very well. And our price prediction, in my opinion, is still very much intact. We were expecting a pullback here, not to this magnitude, I have to be honest. But regardless of the kind of onslaught the price has seen, it's holding up relatively well. So that is all from me, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed the content, like is appreciated, so is a comment, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.